welcome to the first edition of Kingdom Journal. I'm your host, Tammy Fuller, and in the next half hour, we're going throughout the Northeast Kingdom, visiting some pretty interesting people and places. Producer Greg Fulcher first takes us to Newport to visit a stained glass artist whose work can be seen in many churches, businesses, and libraries around the Northeast Kingdom. Stained glass window construction and restoration has become what some might consider a lost art in today's society, but not for Tim Gustafson Byrne, president of New England Art Glass, located in the town of Newport, Vermont. Tim has been working with stained glass for over 20 years, and because of this, he has become a devoted stained glass artist with an attentive eye for detail and perfection. Restoration of religious and commercial stained glass windows is Tim's specialty, but he also shares his love of stained glass by teaching several classes. With these classes, Tim hopes to keep the art alive by getting people interested and involved in the timeless art of stained glass.
I think the part that got me into this was the fact that you could combine pieces of glass and it would look like something, but the glass wouldn't have any shading or toning or texturing or any depth to it. It was just, as you say, like a little puzzle that you put together, and at the end it looks like something. People will look at it and they'll know what it is.
You don't have to be an artist to get started and be successful with stained glass. In fact, you can make virtually any image into a stained glass composition. It's just a matter of simplifying the image into basic elements so that you can work with it.
Basically, it is a puzzle. What you're doing is you're taking any kind of a drawing. You could take a painting, a picture in a catalog or a book, and you break it down into basic components. A scenery, for instance. The mountain range off in the distance is a dark brown. The trees in the foreground are a light green. And what you basically are doing is just tracing an outline around the trees and around the mountains. And you can actually break it down into a pattern that you can work with, and you can create that picture in stained glass. And that's really how simple this whole process is.
Getting started with stained glass is easier than you might think. Another one of Tim's specialties is teaching, and he offers classes for both beginning and advanced individuals.
Classes are a big thing for me. I've been teaching them in the studio here since 1979, and I probably see anywhere from 8 to 20 people a class, and they just keep coming and coming and coming. Some of them, they've always wanted to try it. Some have projects in mind. They want to do a lamp for their dining room or a window or a mirror. They've got something in mind that they'd like to do for their house that they don't want to pay me to do. And so I show them how to do it, and they make the project, and that might be the only thing that they ever do. And this is what we find usually. You either love it and stay in it, or you don't, you do your thing and get out of it. Once people get over the fear of cutting themselves or the fear of not knowing how to break glass, once they get over that initial fear, then it's like all the doors have been opened. It's like nothing once you learn the basics. Technically, I run an 8-week session. This is my night out, and I love what I do, so it could run 10, 12, 14 weeks even. And what I do is I take the people through the whole process. And by the end of that program, you can make anything that you want. So it's once you're through the basic class, you know all there is to know as far as making a piece.
Getting into the hobby of making stained glass is relatively inexpensive. In fact, Tim says you could get started in the hobby for under $100. The glass itself ranges from $5 to $25 per square foot, and the tools are minimal. All you really need is a glass cutter, a pair of breaking pliers, a good soldering iron, and a glass grinder if you can afford it.
It's one of those hobbies where you take people like myself, I'll tell you everything. I don't have any secrets. If you can learn the techniques that I know, I'm the better for it because you'll tell someone else and it'll stay alive. Like passing the torch or something like that.
When Tim is not teaching, he is working closely with his talented staff, restoring stained glass windows. Much of the work comes from churches with windows that are in excess of 80 to 100 years old. Over time, the lead with which the windows were made gets old and deteriorates until there is nothing left to support the glass, which then begins to buckle and collapse due to the constant downward weight. Tim thinks of the lead as the bony structure that holds the whole window together and stresses the importance of proper window maintenance.
From a purist standpoint, I don't think you'd want to replace the lead with anything like plastic or anything else because it just wouldn't make it. Historically, the lead is what they used in the past, and that's what we keep on using. But the unfortunate part of it is that 60 years, 80 years, 100 years from now, they'll have to do it over again. A window may cost anywhere from $700 or $800 to $70,000 or $80,000 to restore. But when you take that over 100 years, it's not an awful lot of money for a piece of art.
Perhaps one of the Northeast's most spectacular stained glass windows can be viewed right in St. Johnsbury at the Grace United Methodist Church. Here, Tim's most challenging restoration project stands completed, a massive and spectacular Tiffany window.
It's like the Mona Lisa or something like that. The original is as good as the restorers can make it. It was made once at a certain point in time and with materials that are no longer available. And what we as restorers have to do is get the window looking as good as it can and keep it so that we've maintained the integrity and maintained the artistic value of it as long as we possibly can. Most people have to go to work to make a living. When you wake up in the morning and you can't wait to get to work, and you enjoy it from the time that you walk into work until the time that you go home, that's a real job. And it's really, to me, it was always sad that most people spent most of their lives, most of their waking hours, going to a job that they didn't like and then coming home afterwards and complaining about it. And I guess I just got lucky that I found something that has always been fascinating to me. Stained glass as an art, as a hobby, as a craft is just, there's so many things you can get into. In my lifetime, I probably won't learn maybe a third of all there is to know about working with glass. I guess that's why I really love it, is because it's so varied. I'm kind of figuring at this point, what am I going to leave people so that they know I was here? And I think that's the other thing that I really get excited about with my work, is they're going to know I was here.
From stained glass in Newport to a castle in Irasburg, producer Chad Perry introduces us to a couple who have taken their dreams to different heights. The skies over the Northeast Kingdom are usually pretty quiet during the winter months, but if you're in Irasburg, Vermont on a clear day, you just might hear something unusual buzzing through the sky. An Irasburg resident has a passion for flying that far exceeds concerns of even the coldest winter air. Harv Gregoire is a retired military aviator who flies kit ultralights that he assembles himself. Harv's enjoyment for recreational flying has led him on a search of new flying experiences. In addition to ultralights, he takes to the sky with an invention called a powered parachute.
With these particular small airplanes, the kit airplanes, and especially the powered parachute, you are literally like a bird. It's very slow and relaxing flight. You can fly very low. I can't begin to describe the thrills I've had just seeing wild game from these things. I've flown wing and wing with geese and ospreys, and you can get right close to them. And it's literally looking at the planet from a very different perspective. It's as close to being a bird as you can get. Getting in a jetliner and going across country doesn't begin to give you the feeling that flying in these little toys does. They're very safe machines and a considerable amount of fun. thrill doesn't get old. It's just one more challenge after another.
Most people use airports to store their planes, but not Harv. He has a hangar built in his own home. And while most people use airport runways, Harv flies his ultralights from his front yard.
The real beauty is you're not tied to airports. You don't have to keep your airplane in an airport. If you have a little grass field somewhere, that's all you need.
If you think that having a hangar-equipped home in order to fly planes off your front yard is strange, what if the home were a castle, complete with stone towers, suits of armor, and gargoyles?
We loved castles. We liked the architecture.
Harv and his wife Sarah built their castle home all by hand and saw their dream progress stone by stone.
The quality of our life is very important to us. Where I live has to be a peaceful place, a place that I like to look at, and especially one that is never finished. We didn't want to build a little stone cottage and in 3 years' time sit back and watch the grass grow. We wanted something that became a canvas for us, really, that you could step up to every day and there was something to do.
Everything in the world, typically that's man-made or man-generated, started with an idea. This place was just an idea, and the trick is to materialize those ideas. And that takes a choice, and everyone has the power of choice. Probably a lot of people who go through their entire lives and never realize how powerful the power of choice is. And we believe in it. We're believers.
While most people would consider building a castle a colossal task, the Gregoires say that building their own castle wasn't that hard.
Because somebody said to us at one time, my goodness, how could two people do this? Well, you can do anything. Certainly, we researched most of the technology used to build this through the libraries. If you know how to read, you can do anything. We are not special people with special skills. And someone asked me once, what is it like to build your own home? And I thought to myself, I know every nail and every board and piece of insulation in this home. It's an intimate part of me. I've touched it. And that's a very special feeling. It truly is ours. We've touched every piece of material and erected it and built it and looked back and said, whoops, made a mistake and went back and did it again, which we've done a few times, which is the nice thing about building your own home. But we just thought in terms of who we are, what we like, what pleases us, that this home was very appropriate as a castle.
There's a lot of things around here that aren't perfect, but we have a saying that adds character. So we have a lot of character around, a lot of imperfections around here. We're not afraid to make mistakes. Now that's what makes it fun. Now if that's impossible, let's try it. Anybody can do the possible.
Flying a powered parachute from the front yard of a castle might make the Gregoires seem a little strange, but actually they say they're simply a normal couple who saw their dream and went after it.
We hope to instill a little hope in some people, and we hope to have fun.
Have your life, your dreams be whatever they are, and you can make those come true.
On our next stop, Angela Goulet introduces us to a small-town airport manager whose interests aren't all up in the air. This small-town airport isn't very busy today, but it never is very active. Besides, there's only one runway and only one employee. If it wasn't for the windsock, parked airplanes, and strip of tar, the airport might even be mistaken for a field.
Really, it's the day in the life of an airport manager here in northern New England, I guess. It's definitely not as fast-paced as Logan Airport by any means, but we definitely serve a purpose here.
The airport is available for use by business people, recreational flyers, and private commuters. Tom Wyness is a Caledonia County State Airport manager. He oversees this airport and two others. It can get a little slow when there are no planes landing and no grass to be cut.
They always say in the aviation business, it's hours of boredom and 5 minutes of sheer terror, and that's what happens around here. A lot of times it's inspect the runways, help pilots out. And, you know, on days when it's snowing, yeah, the phone rarely ever rings, you know, but, you know, it's one of those jobs, you're like a fireman, you know, you're here, you're on duty, and you're ready to go at a moment's notice.
Most people would think if you run an airport, you'd be an expert flyer, but Tom doesn't fly. He doesn't even have his pilot's license, and he has no plans to get it.
People have asked me if I had my pilot's license, and I've got about 10 hours of time in an airplane. I love to fly, but I'd rather have somebody else pilot the aircraft, and I'll just sit back and relax. It takes a little bit of skill to become one with the airplane and, you know, just feel like you're in the plane, and I haven't mastered that yet. Some people take to that real easily, and I have a harder time doing it.
Although he hasn't mastered planes, Mr. Winus has taken to another kind of transportation, trains.
Something about a steam locomotive that, you know, the thing seems alive. It seems to breathe with the steam and the air pumps going, and it's big.
What is it about trains that Tom loves?
Oh, I don't know, everything. Just the thrill of watching them come down the track, and I'm really into the technology of the new locomotives.
Walking into the office, you know right away he's a locomotive enthusiast. Growing up in New Jersey, Tom watched steam trains from his grandmother's back porch.
I also like models. I have a lot of friends that have built model railroads. I used to be in a model railroad club.
For Mr. Winus, working at this airport is an ideal job. He is able to stay outside all summer and be inside all winter doing things he likes. For Tom, that means working with model trains.
So I do aviation 6 days a week, and it is my job, and it's just like anything else when it becomes your job unless you really love it. And there are people who eat, breathe, and sleep airplanes, and they just can't get enough, and that's the same way I am with my hobby. I eat, breathe, and I sleep railroads and trains, and I can't get enough of it.
There's only one runway and only one employee, but this airport has more than most airports, and that's trains. Trains, they may be a hobby for some, but for others, it's their life. Producer Craig Davis takes us for a ride on the rail. In 1863, it was called the Newport and Richford Railway, and the surrounding Northeast Kingdom towns thrived on it. But as time went on, other modes of transportation dominated the market, and slowly, the Newport and Richford Railway all but disappeared. Today, although faint and distant, you can still hear the sounds of the past as a train rolls through the villages and towns, as it has for over a century.
We're not making the money here that we are making out west because long haul, and like you got your potash, coal, and grain, you know, long haul that we're talking millions of tons every year that we handle to the Rockies and so on. But it's still a necessity in the Northeast Kingdom to add these merchandise shipped by rail.
Newport and Richford Railway is now part of the Canadian Pacific Railroad, a large company that operates coast to coast across Canada and the U.S. Despite successful runs elsewhere, the Northeast Kingdom line is an endangered species.
Oh yeah, it has been for a long time. Like this division here, we used to have, 4 through freights a day, 2-way freights. There used to be 6 regular trains a day, freights. Now all you have is the road switcher service, which is just local service.
Today their business revolves around grain, wood pulp, and liquid petroleum, and on runs to places like Richford or Wells River. They also spend time repairing the tracks from an occasional flood.
There's a washout down here just below Barton, mileage 17.8. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this car down, and they're going to dump the ballast along the side of the roadbed to fill the hole. And it washed out with the last flood.
A flood won't stop this train, and neither will Vermont's sometimes treacherous weather, which gives them the advantage over the trucking industry.
Unless you're talking about something extraordinary like 6 feet of snow in 3 days or something, this will slow us down some. Then we use our snowplow, which we don't need very often because the locomotive by itself and the train, 2 feet of snow, we ignore that. It doesn't bother us at all, as it will bother the trucker on the highway or ice. This doesn't bother us whatsoever on the railroad.
It doesn't bother them because the locomotive by itself weighs 250,000 pounds or 130 ton. It is run by diesel electric. The diesel motor operates the electric generator for the track. It can reach speeds of up to 40 miles per hour. And at that speed, it can take over a mile to stop.
No more helpless feeling than seeing a car trapped on a crossing and the brakes applied on the train and you're going 40 miles an hour. You can't stop.
While the responsibility to stop the train relies on the engine with the conductor, it takes many people to run this train. On the CP Railroad, these people start their job at the end of the train in the caboose.
It used to be the function of it was for the flagman as well. Every time they stopped, the flagman had to drop back 3,000 yards to protect against forward movements, which they don't anymore because of the signal system.
Today, it's just for other crew members to ride in. In between stops, they may have to do some industrial switching. One of the men who has seen the many changes of the train is Norman York, who has worked around trains and train yards for 25 years.
I started working in St. Johnsbury in 1971 on a yard switcher, and they've since closed St. Johnsbury Yard. So that's why I'm working here.
Rial Adams has also put his time in riding on the train, a job he remembers like it was yesterday.
But I used to ride train all the time. That was the only job I had, diesel inspector. I'm telling you, it's some fun to jump from one locomotive to the next at 60 miles per hour at 30 below zero, which was my job for 5 years.
Even though the sound of the train is fading, this family-like business rolls on as it has for the past 100 years. To the people that work here, only the name has changed, bringing the sounds of the past into the future.
I've been in it all my life, and I've known many people that's been in it all their life, and it seems to be a world by itself, you know. It's in your blood. My father was on the railroad. My grandfather was on the railroad. My brothers. It's a family affair. Ever since I was born, I heard about railroad switches, locomotives, boxcars, and odd accident that happened, and you know. So you grow up with that, and for most people, not all, but for most people, it's a family affair, and you have to go after so many years, of course. And a lot of guys would tell you, oh boy, I'll be so glad and I'm on pension, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Sure. But I observed these guys, the same guys, the month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks before they go on pension, that their face changes, you know. They're going to have all kinds of things to do with their missus, travel and all that, but they can see that for them it's a big thing to go. And when my turn comes, it's going to be the same thing, I'm sure.
From one lifestyle to another, journal producer Aron Willey takes us on a scenic trip to St. Johnsbury for a look at a lifestyle common in Vermont, farming. At any time of the year, Vermont is one of the most beautiful states in America. With its green mountains, its maple tree forests, its snow-covered fields, and its lonely back roads, Vermont scenery is breathtaking. And always at the foot of those mountains, at the edge of those forests, in the middle of those fields, and near the end of those roads, is a Vermont farm. Those red barns speckling the countryside have become a mainstay in the Northeast Kingdom. One of the most recognizable farms in Caledonia County lies directly off Interstate 93. This is where Paul Zhang grew up, presently farms, and hopes to retire, passing the farm off to his oldest son. Let's spend a day in the life of the Northeast Kingdom farmer.
Paul Shang. I live in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, and I'm a dairy farmer. My grandfather, I think, he moved into the United States from Canada in 1929 and bought a farm in Wolcott. And he farmed, my father farmed, and now I am. And I expect probably one of my 4 sons is probably going to end up doing the same thing, hopefully.
elsewhere.
Danny Zhang will be more than prepared to take over the farm because every night after school he goes to the barn to help his father out with the nighttime milking. He may be just a teenager, but he handles himself like someone who's been farming for decades. And like most farmers, what does he love most about farming?
The animals. I like dealing with cows especially. There are some animals I don't like, and cats being one of them. We get a bunch of them running around, and I enjoy the cows especially because they are so individual. There are no two cows in the barn that act the same at all times. It's just always a trial just to see how calm you can get a cow when you're around her.
Keeping them calm never seems to be a problem for Danny, and hard work isn't either. But it takes more than just Paul and Danny to run this farm.
I've got 4 full-time and 1 I call part-time, but he gets about 45, 50 hours in a week, so it's not really part-time, but I pay him by the hour. The others are all on salary. Everybody pretty much has the same job. One guy is busy cleaning most of the time. Another guy does the feeding. A couple of guys milking. And if we get time between chores, we have a lot of odd jobs that we have to do during the day. If it means just helping one of the other guys if he had a problem, with a piece of equipment and he's behind, then they help.
Even with 6 workers, it would take all day to milk Paul's herd of over 200 cows by hand. With modern technology, milking machines can get the job done in 2 hours.
That could be a sign of heat. But this is really the only way to do it, is to turn the cows out, let them run around in the yard.
Every morning after the milking, Paul lets some of the herd outside. While the cows take in the crisp morning air, Paul checks them for signs of being in heat, a key element in the breeding process.
Yep. There's a cow in heat right there. See her? The one standing is the one that's in heat. And the one that's climbing her might possibly be in heat too. What we need to do now is watch to see if another cow will climb that one.
Paul takes note of the cows that are in heat, which is important in the daily increase of his herd. A successful breeding always brings a smile to Paul's face. He really enjoys what he does. And if you ask him what he enjoys most about being a farmer, he'll always answer you the same way.
I like being my own boss, making my own decisions, deciding what I'm going to do, even though the farm does kind of run you in a way because you got to be there. But I just like working with cows. I like working with animals. You don't really get bored. Like, I couldn't even imagine working in a factory where you're doing the same thing every day, day after day. I'd go nuts. People say I got to be nuts to be a farmer, but this is what I'd rather do.
The increase in industry almost led to a total relocation of the Zhang family farm. In 1980, Interstate 93 was constructed to relieve truck traffic in and out of St. Johnsbury on Route 2, and to provide a faster truck route to the factories in Boston and New York. The problem was, the interstate divided Paul's land in 2.
We made the best of what we had after they went through. The state people told us that it was going to just add to the value of our land tremendously. And I think it has, because Exit 1 is right next to the farm. We did have, we thought it was going to draw in some industry into the area. That's what the state thought too. Ben & Jerry's was seriously looking at building up their plant that's in St. Albans now here. It was between St. Albans and this plot here in St. Johnsbury. And we had mixed feelings about that because we were saying we want to stay in farming. And if Ben & Jerry's moves in here, we knew that probably somebody else would want to move in also across the road from them because it was just going to start an industrial area right here. And if we wanted to stay in farming, I imagine we would have had to just pick up our stuff and move somewhere else. And we didn't really want to because, you know, I grew up here, my kids grew up here, and, you know, you kind of get attached. You get very attached, I guess. But they didn't. And I think I like it that way.
Every morning, Paul wakes up at 5 a.m. and goes to work surrounded by green mountains, maple trees, snowy fields, and I-93. He loves what he does.
Okay, girls, let's go. Let's go, girls.
I hope you've enjoyed our first trip around the Northeast Kingdom. Join us again next month for another edition of Kingdom Journal. I'm Tammy Fuller. Thank you for joining us.